Hello, and welcome to my very first podcast. My name's Anne, and I live in Worcestershire, sort of in the middle of England. If you know where Birmingham is, the county sort of southwest of that's Worcestershire. I've wanted a podcast for a long time now. I've even been practicing in the car, on my own, of course. But I think it's about 2 or 3 years ago I thought, I'd like to join in the fun. And things like editing and getting everything organised have just put me off. Well, no, not put me off, given me the excuse not to do it. But I can't wait any longer. I've got to get my toe in the waters, and here I am. So if you're watching this, I've done it. Yay! I need to get my head down, so I'm going to hopefully not bob my head up and down too much, because if I do that, you can't see my eyes. And I recorded a 20-minute episode the other day, thinking that the light was okay. And I sat at the back of the room there where you can see the Katy Green sheet poster. I sat well away from the light, thinking it would affect my glasses less. But no, you couldn't really see my eyes, and I don't like that. I think it's I'd rather try and avoid that if I can. So, keep my head down. Trouble is, I keep my head down, it gives me the double chins. Keep my head up. I just try and keep perfectly straight. What can I tell you? Well, I want to talk about knitting mainly, if I hadn't already mentioned that. I have been knitting from quite an early age, so I'd say I was an experienced knitter, but I'm not necessarily an advanced knitter, because although I'm confident with cables and lace, there's a few things I've not done, like brioche and double knitting, steeking, and some of them I'd like to have a go at, and some of them I think, well, if there's a pattern I like and it's got it in it, then, that will force the issue for me, so to speak. I'm thinking that I'll try and podcast for about 30 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes, particularly at the moment, because I don't want to put people off with my Brummy accent. There aren't many people on here with a Brummy accent that I've found anyway. So I hope you can understand what I say. And I'm hoping also to podcast about once a fortnight. If I look down the garden, I'm lifting my... I'm sorry if I push my glasses up on my face, but they have a tendency to slip down, and I am sort of trying to tilt my head. Anyway, enough of excuses. Just get on with it. Knitting. Well, I knit a lot. I knit nearly every single day, unless I'm absorbed in a book, and then I like to read a book straight through if I really like it. So unless I'm in a book, I'm knitting. And I also crochet. I've now got a new sewing machine, and I'm going to learn to sew. My mum is an excellent seamstress, and has been making a lot of my clothes over the years. And every now and again she drops a hint about, well, when I'm gone, you need to know how to do this. And I'm like, yeah, I'll learn. And I don't, I just leave. And I'll run them up for you anyway, and it takes me an hour to make you a pair of trousers. So I've used that as an excuse. I'm good at finding excuses. But yeah, I'm learning to sew. But lockdown has it hasn't given me any more time, really, because I'm retired. I took early retirement in 2015 on health grounds. So in theory, I've got all the time in the world, but it doesn't really happen like that, does it? Even though I don't do a lot. Hubby looks after me, does all the cooking and the housework. I have got just myself and a bit of house admin to do. So I've got no excuse not to get stuck into things. But what I found was last summer, I saw things advertised. I thought, yeah, I'd like to get into that. I've always wanted to try it, and I've bought a couple of kits. So again, there's lots of things I want to talk about in the coming episodes. I haven't started my English paper piecing kit, but I bought one from Emma Jones of Vintage Sewing Box. And I also bought a paper piercing kit where you get sort of, what are they called? Scalpel knives. And you cut round. Not sure how good I'm going to be at that. I've also got cross-stitch kits that I've had for a while that I've started, but I'm going to rip back because it was asking for 3 threads and it's a bit stiff to get through the Ada. And now I've learnt a bit more from watching sort of various floss tubes. I realise perhaps I can get away with using 2 strands instead of what the pattern says. Not that I know better than the pattern, of course, but... And I've also done a little bit of embroidery. It's not very good, but I'll show you in an upcoming episode. But today is all about knitting. It's all about knitting and talking to you for the very first time. I need to slow my talking down. Apparently Midlanders do talk pretty fast. And I'm a bit nervous, to be honest. I've not done this before, only practiced at it. But I'm really hoping this is going to be the one that gets to YouTube. So, I'll just take a sip of coffee and we'll be off. I haven't got any totally finished objects to show you. I've got something that I finished the other day. And I'll show you that first. And then I will show you one of the things that I'm working on. And then my immediate plans. So, let's start at the beginning and talk about what I'm wearing. I'm not sure whether you can see this, but this is a very cleverly designed jumper by Carol Feller of, let me tip you up a little bit, Stolen Stitches. This is called the Mossy Way jumper, and I think it's available on Ravelry and Love Crafts. I got mine off Love Crafts when it first came out because there was a bit of a colour thing and it's along. And there were videos coming out. I think it was done in parts actually. I love this. This is so warm. It's fairly lightweight because it's double knitting. And it hasn't got... Has it got a colourway? I can't remember. This was a custom dyed colourway and it's greener than it's showing up. The tones are correct, but it's greener than it's showing. It's a sort of pale green overall when you look at it. But you can see it's got hints of grey and darker tones of green. Where you see beige, think green. And it's a custom dye by Becky of Rivernits. Becky, I think it was in more of the early days when she was doing custom dyes. Although I saw she did one the other day and she said she's open to the idea if people want that. But I bought this off her because she was doing Blueface Leicester. And that is by far my preferred yarn for jumpers. So this starts off in the middle and you work out and you've got that pattern where you've got a 2x2 rib and they join in as you decrease down the arm. Very clever. And then you do the other side. You go so far down the sleeve and then do the other side. And it's got a little bit of an exposed, use a pen, an exposed seam here and a slightly longer one on the yoke at the back. You pick up stitches across the top of the chest, just below where I'm pointing, and then you knit down in the round. An easy jumper, I think, anyway. Once you've got your head around doing these decreases on the 2x2 rib so that it comes like an arrowhead, then I thought it was nice, and I would certainly consider doing one again if only my queue wasn't as long, trying to try new things all the time. It's very comfortable, it fits nicely. I wouldn't say it was a boxy, not on me anyway. And yeah, I don't think I did any other modifications. And I think I've had this for about 3 years now. And it's behaving itself quite well. It's not really, you can see a couple of little pills on there. But compared to some yarns, it's lovely and it's nice and soft. So that's what I'm wearing, the Mossy Way by Carol Feller. And I will put a link of things that I talk about down in the down bar. And if I forget anything, please comment and let me know. So that's what I'm wearing. And next, let's go on to my FO that it hasn't been blocked and it hasn't got the ends woven in. So, whoa, sausages. Sorry. This is the love note. Of course it is. You can recognise the pattern on it. It's blowing out slightly. Let me put it the right way around. Like that makes a big difference when I'm showing it on the screen. But this, I cast this on. I knit this. I decided I was going to make one, and then Kaz of the We So and So podcast. Hello, Kaz. Can you understand what I'm saying with my accent? Kaz, if you don't watch her, everybody watches Kaz. She's got such a gorgeous accent. I think she should do those tapes, where people can lull off to sleep, because she's got such a sweet tone to her voice. Anyway, back to the love note. That's the sleeve. This is knitted in Rowan Kidsilk Haze in the liqueur colourway, and also the Venetian colourway in Supersoft by Holst. And those are the exact same colours that Kirsty of Grenade Creations has done. And I liked hers, and I'd already bought the liqueur, and I was looking for the complementary yarn. I wanted something with a marl in it, actually, so it would show up as being a bit more textured, or there's a little bit of contrast on it. But I loved her so much that in the end I went with it. And of course, I've not knitted with Supersoft before, but everybody told me how wonderful it is, and the fact that although it might feel a bit hard on the ball as you knit with it, it will bloom beautifully when it's washed. So Cass started hers after me, and of course, being the super fast knitter that she is, she finished before me. And she commented, I was a bit worried about how wide the neck was, which I think a lot of people who've not knitted the love note have asked questions about. Excuse me. But Kaz was saying she wore it on one of her last podcasts, and said that she felt the neck was a bit high at the front, and she would put some short rows in it, and she was thinking even of undoing it. Now, we know, don't we, ladies and gentlemen, that undoing anything with mohair is a real pain. So I thought, well, I'm going to learn from this, because I quite often don't learn from things, and you'll find that over the episodes. So when you start again going upwards to do just the neck off the provisional cast on, I think I got me undoing my provisional cast on wrong, because I had to undo every single stitch of my crochet cast on, and that wasn't right, because I've done it before and it unzips nicely. So then I was a bit of an idiot there. But I decided to put short rows in at Cassie's suggestion, and I've just done 6. I've gone backwards and forwards. So there's about, I'd say, nearly 2 inches of depth. What do you think? You can see it's a bit lower. Well, I finished it according to the instructions, because I'd asked Ange of Yarn and Yarns about the neck, and she said, no, it works out fine. But, as Cass herself says, she's got a big head. I'm not being insulting. She said it. Check. And I've got a big head. I have to buy man-size hats if I want a hat off the peg, like a cap or something, because I've got a larger than usual head. And this caught quite a lot. Although it went over my head, hubby had to help me. It caught on my nose and my ears, and who wants nose and ear pain, especially when you're taking it off again? So that's when I decided to undo my ribbing. I hadn't sewn the ends in. Undo the ribbing, which was undo the cast off, and I'd done Icelandic cast off. I undid it. I undid the rib, and I went all the way back to the end of my short rows. And I allowed myself 15 more stitches on the end product, and that should have given me about 2 more inches on the neckband. But it still catches a little bit on my, I've only got a little nose, and I've got very small ears, but it sits nicely on the neck. I don't wear a lot of shirts, particularly with high collars, so it's not like I want to wear something over the top of the collar, which would look lovely with this, I must admit. So again, I've done, and I don't know whether you can see it, I've done an Icelandic cast off. The mohair fuzzies everything, doesn't it? You can't really see the finish, but it's quite a nice. It's almost like an I-cord, but not quite. It's like a mini I-cord, and it gives a little bit of flexibility. But the mohair stops any flexibility, or some of the flexibility that you would have in a rib anyway, purely because the mohair is an inflexible yarn, you know. Well, now I've shown it you, I'm going to block it, and I'm going to, if we have another nice day like today where it's sunny for quite a long time, then I will block it and put it outside, and then it'll probably have to air on the radiator, because it says dry flat, so we'll see. I did it a bit longer, not as long as Cass did hers. She hadn't said she was doing more of a tunic length. I think I did mine to about 12 inches from the underarm, and it is quite short still on me, so goodness knows where the crop would have come. I knitted for my size. I did the second to largest size, and I quite like it. It like sticks out. I quite like that. It sticks out from my boobs, but I've got big boobs and short arms, so I always have to modify whatever I knit, and also have to be careful of what shape I'm knitting, because if something's too oversized, then it'll drown me if I knit the size from my chest. So that's the love note. Really pleased. I'm thinking of doing another one. I like the shape of it, and if I like the sleeves when I've worn it a couple of times, because they're balloon sleeves, although that's easily altered, I might do some in, I've got some BFL DK from Needle and Thread in their Swamp Monster colourway, which is sort of a bright green, and I think that would make a nice contrast, and also I think the yoke pattern would show up fairly well, even though it's a bit of a variegated yarn. But we'll see. We don't know until we try. That's one of my mottos. Coffee slurp, and I probably will slurp. The other thing I've got on my needles at the moment, I've got a shawl for a friend. Can't show you that until it's finished, because she said she's going to watch this podcast, or she might watch this podcast. This is a cowl, and I'm not going to show you very much of it, because it, again, well, this is a test knit for Kerry Simpson of Hummingbird Yarns, and this is her Hummingbird cowl. That's the name she's called it so far. And it's all scrunched up. It's on the needles. I'm using my Chia Goose, which I had for my birthday, and it's been knitted in. That's not a bad colour actually. Slightly less, more orange, less coral than that. But this is Stoke the Forge by Rusty Ferret, and there is going to be a theme of Rusty Ferret stuff coming up in a minute. Yeah, I'm getting on with that. I've got 4 more repeats to do of the pattern, and I'm hoping to finish that and get it cast off by tomorrow. I'm not sure I've got enough yarn for all those repeats. I've done it on the size needles requested. I am a little bit of a loose knitter, although I think I've tightened up a little bit since I've started using circulars instead of straights. But yeah, so quite happy with that, and I think that'll be nice. I didn't know what to do with that particular yarn, and that came along at the right time for me. Excuse me. Not that I haven't got enough on my list. I want to do a Make 9, and I'm going to try my best to do one, and I'll post it onto Instagram. Why haven't I introduced myself properly? Instagram, Ravelry. I am known as Sparnits, Spaknits. And again, I'll put the information down in the down below, so hopefully you can click on it and can take you to there. I make not very good notes on Ravelry, and I want to improve that, because sometimes I even miss basics like my needle size off, and I go back to something a little while later and I think, I don't know what I did, I don't know what I used, and then I don't know how long I've knitted something, do you know what I mean? Because I make, I modify all the time, as I said before, to suit my body shape. And then, but all my projects are on there for the last few years, And so with terrible photographs, because I'm terrible at taking pictures, and my stash, which is a bit of embarrassment, but I'm trying to have a no buy yarn year, unless I really, really want something, or I need it to add to something that I'm knitting for somebody else. You need an excuse, don't you? I should call myself the excuse of a knitter. Maybe that doesn't go down very well, but and Instagram, I will post more regularly if I get a few viewers to watch this. Yeah, and I'll put the link down below. I follow quite a few people on Instagram. Now I've got a phone that I can use Instagram, I think, to its max, or sort of. Still a lot of things I don't know how to do. Yeah, I quite enjoy it, but it's a lot of temptation, that and Ravelry. So, what can I show you next? Well, what's coming up next in my makes? When I finish the shawl, and first of all, the cowl that I was just showing you, my next make is going to be a City Limits jumper. I'm going to try and put a photograph at the beginning of the video as my sort of marker page, and I'm trying to put text on it, but I tried the other day and failed. And that is one of my City Limits jumpers that I knitted last year. There's two City Limits patterns that I'm aware of that are jumpers. I've got both of them. One's a lovely bottom up with lace at the bottom. I haven't knit that yet. Can't remember the lady's name. But the other one is by Tanis Lavelli. And she has got, she did a fairly, just a crew neck jumper knitted with 2 strands of 4-ply, and she made it reversible, but I've done both of mine with the knit side out because I just prefer that, unless I've got cables to contrast it with. There is a garter panel under the arms, but yeah, it's a nice pattern, and if I remember I'll put that in there as well. So I've done 2, and I've been wearing one of them as my house jumper along with an older jumper. So if I'm not going anywhere and I don't get dressed properly, if you know what I mean, ladies, sorry about saying as well, I've just noticed. She says. Then I wear one of these jumpers over a long sleeve t-shirt, which are also falling apart because I've worn them to bits, literally, and they keep me warm in the house. And if I'm going out or I'm podcasting, I will wear one of my other jumpers. And my friend said to me, you should get dressed every day, or you should, and she's just finished work, so she doesn't know it's like 5 years later down the line where you couldn't be bothered. You're not going to see anybody. Even you don't even care if the postman comes. I am a slob sometimes, aren't I? Don't brand me a slob, please. Anyway, so I wanted to do a third because I've got all these single skeins up in my stash, and I found the other 2 made perfect jumpers for a couple of the advents that I had in 2019, and they knit up quite quickly because they are sort of a worsted weight, so you do them with slightly bigger needles, and you've got a really fairly quick jumper even in my size, and it looks so pretty with all the different colours. As I say, they're on my Ravelry page. Excuse me, the coffee's making me not hiccup or burp, but it's making me go every now and again. I'm trying to do this so I don't have to edit, remember. Now, so this is going to be my mix for my next City Limits. This is called, can you see the greens and the yellows? This is Vanguard by Ted's Knits. And these are all 75-25 superwash merino nylon. And next we have the start of the Rusty Ferret Fest. The dark below, and that is grey with a dull orange in. Next we have the glorious burnt sugar. Look at that. Isn't that just gorgeous? I do like heavily. This is a bit reminiscent of Giant Squirrel, by the way, which is a colour that my husband sent me a photograph of, and I sent her, and Becky said she'd dye up the yarn. But this has got brown, black, grey, even a hint of blue occasionally, yellows and oranges, pink. You name it is in there. and it's gorgeous. And then we've got Brood for Girders, blowing out slightly because it's a very, very orangey colour. And these are all going to be moulding together, remember. And then finally, but not necessarily the one at the top, Marmalade. So that's yellow, orange and red. Gorgeous. So those are all the last 4 with Rusty Ferret. I want 5 colours because it won't take all 500 grams. It won't take much less than that for me, but it'll be nearly 500 grams. Nice sweater, not too heavy. Love it. So that's what I'm going to do when I finish the cowl, the orange cowl. And I reckon I could wear the orange cowl on top of that if I was really cold. It'd make quite a nice outfit, I think. I'm going to finish up soon because I've probably been talking for, let's have a look, 25 minutes. Hurry up, hurry up. The next thing I'm going to show you, and as a spoiler alert here, if you have got the Nature Club, or you've signed up to the Nature Club by Emily Bannister of Rhapsody Dye, then, and you don't want to know what's in it, please look away. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. This was in the box. This is Blue Tit, and I've signed up in my no yarn. Yeah, I know. It's got grey, it's got every colour of the Blue Tit, and in fact I can see a Blue Tit right outside on our feeder at the moment. And with that came, that's gorgeous, isn't it? That's 100% superwash merino, but my future ones are going to be in BFL, but she hadn't got hold of the BFL by the time this was due to go out, so that's fine. I'm probably going to make a hat out of that. But also I got a bag of birdseed with a little fat ball in as well, and the birds are munching that like mad. I really, really like it. A little notebook with birds on the outside, and a leaflet to enter the garden watch that the RSPB are doing, and I think that's next weekend, and I will do that. I did it last year, and I'll do it again this year. And for anybody who's interested, but I can't show you, we've got a black cap that keeps visiting. I've got an acer, and Tom, my husband, has hung our feeders in the acer so the little birds can perch on it. And they don't have to be exposed to everything else that comes along, you know, like the magpies and things. And the black cap keeps coming. He was here last year, and he shoos all the others away, you know, and he's not much bigger than them, but he's very distinctive with his black cap on. So I think that's all I've got to show you. I'm sorry that I've rabbited, and I'm hoping that you understand everything I say. Next time I'll tell you a little bit more about me and my knitting history, and I will hopefully have a fully finished love note to show you, and if I like it and it fits me, and it's, you know, I know it fits me, but I'll wear it. And I'll also talk, I'll have more knitting to show you that's on the needles that can actually show you and not say, oh, you know, it's in another room hiding. If you made it this far, thank you very, very much for watching me. I do want to join in with podcasting, and even if I only get 20 views, that'll be enough for me to carry on doing it. I've got a lot to say about knitting and what I like to do and different things that I do that some people might not. I'm older than most of the podcasters I watch, so my knitting history is a little bit different maybe. You know, having to grow up with wool shops and no internet, mail order catalogues, that sort of thing. For wool, I mean, for yarn. So, I'm going to love you and leave you, as they say. I'm thinking that I should say other things. I was going to show you some more wool, some more yarn that I've acquired recently, but I'll do that next time. So you take care, and of course, stay safe, and I'll be back in a bit. Ta-da a bit. Bye.